swinging.
Hello, I'm Emma Clair, and welcome to the Prohibition radio show. It's October, and would you believe it, we are into the 7th instalment of our brand new interview series. This month, it is the turn of freshly squeezed record label boss Nick Hollywood. They're in their 15th year of providing the world with electro swing and vintage remixes. So I thought it was a great time to catch up with Nick to find out where it all began and also look at what the future holds for the record label. If you'd like to listen to the music show that accompanies this, then you need to head over to our YouTube channel and Mixcloud/Prohibition MCR.
What's that you say? You gotta turn on the radio. Okay.
Hi Nick, thank you for speaking to Prohibition. How are you?
I'm very good, Emma. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. It's a rainy day in Manchester, but you know, the show must go on.
It's a rainy day.
I've been really excited about this one, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to be really interested to hear about Nick Hollywood and your superstar career. So for those people that don't know who you are, who might be new to the world of electro swing and vintage remix, can you just tell me a bit about yourself and how and where did it all begin?
That's such an open-ended question, Emma. How can I possibly answer that?
Obviously we've only got an hour, so
yeah. So let's start. Freshly Squeezed record label, which is my record label. 15 years this year. Run also events, which kind of were born out of the compilation. I'm sure we'll talk about that. White Mink, and ran the White Mink events and also Electro Swing Club events. Done a lot of kind of festival programming, done promotions as a kind of a club promoter and also live events promoter, done festival stage programming, had a joint record label with Island Records, part of Universal. So yeah, kind of a lot of related, interconnected bits in the music business.
Absolutely. Sorry to throw you in with such an open-ended question to start off with. I should have started off with a nice, easy one.
Right.
So you're really big into the electro swing and vintage remix, but I'd like to know kind of like what music were you into before you got into electro swings. Let's go kind of back a step before.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, the most recent thing before that, I mean, you know, your musical tastes tend to be kind of a journey, and you know, as a DJ and collector, you follow an eclectic path, and there's things that you like, and you go down that path, and you get a bit bored with it, or you take a left turn, and so it's a constant evolution. I think, you know, I was very into jazz, and then we in the 90s I was part of the whole kind of lounge club thing, sort of kitsch easy listening in London, and ran a club night, and that was my first kind of taste of running a record label. We did compilations and we did our own releases on that label. So yeah, prior to doing Freshly Squeezed, I was very much part of the lounge thing, and then the first releases on Freshly Squeezed were also kind of coming out of that sound. So my own stuff and other people that I signed.
Cool, that sounds really interesting. I know there's a few kind of artists from the electro swing scene that have kind of come from the lounge kind of vibe, so right. Yeah, that's cool. So I mean, you obviously kind of briefly talked about the White Mink compilations, which leads really well into my next question. I've been doing my homework on you, been doing a bit of digging, so you kind of like where it all began. So if I've got my stats right, it was 2005 when the first White Mink Black Cotton compilation CD came out.
No, it wasn't.
Pardon?
No, it wasn't. It
wasn't. Your bio on Continental Drifts is wrong then.
Oh yeah, of course. Do you know Tofu?
Yes.
Yeah. Tofu's facts are random. His heart is in absolutely the right place, and his facts are all over the place.
Oh dear! Well, I've completely taken the wrong source then. So let's get this stats straight. Then what year did it come out?
Squeezed started in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
2009, we released the first White Mink compilation. It was 2009 was also the first use of the word electro swing. So I think we were slightly beaten. I think Wagram released an electro swing compilation in that year, and we also released the White Mink electro swing versus Speakeasy Jazz, as it's subtitled. So that was the start of that genre. And that when we also did the first electro swing club, which was the world's first in London in 2009, which was the launch party of the White Mink.
Yeah. And what was the inspiration behind the release? Obviously, because electro swing was so new. Kind of what brought you into this like exciting kind of new genre?
So I came at it from a really funny angle, which was that I was talking to a friend of mine who was a DJ in London, who's since sadly died, called El Nino. And he was very big on the vintage scene, and he had been to Club Montepulciano, which was our kind of lounge night. So I knew him from that, and he wanted to do a compilation of R&B stuff, like kind of vintage jukebox R&B. And he gave me a couple of CDs that he'd already done, and he wanted to kind of go legit. They were kind of bootleg things he was selling them at Camden Market. And he also gave me a CD of like vintage 20s and 30s jazz. And I was like, well, I really like the R&B stuff, but I like even more this 20s and 30s stuff. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I was also aware of, Parov Stella had sort of dabbled in it. It was kind of very much new jazz, but he'd kind of put out things that sampled vintage swing. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of also aware of Caravan Palace and their album, and actually thought, this is really interesting. Nobody's doing this at all. There's just nothing there. It hasn't even got a, it's not a name, but I could hear there was a sort of a feel, and it was just exciting. So So the first White Mink, I did that compilation of the vintage stuff with Nino, and then I did a modern side with Caravan Palace and Princess Crocodile and all that sort of stuff. It took a long time to put it all together, and I thought it was more of just a labour of love. It was really a passion project. Mm-hmm. There was no market, there was no scene, there was nobody, there was nothing.
Yeah.
So and then as we were doing that, I think the Wagram were exactly the same idea or similar idea. Their first compilation came out, and ours came out shortly afterwards. And it was just really lucky timing. And right from the off, it was really obvious that people were ready for it because it took off immediately.
Absolutely, it's something.
Yeah,
it's something fresh and new. It's people like. And you kind of answered all my questions for me. Actually, you mentioned Electro Swing Club. So that kind of came off the back of I think. Well, I've taken my facts from Tofu's bios. These may be wrong, but that came off the back of the CD launch party that you did for the White Mink.
November 2009, we did the launch party, and then that kind of launched as a monthly event, and it was amazing. It was very, very quickly, very, very buzzy. It was in Shoreditch, and it just sort of exploded massively. And then I pulled back from doing the London events because I'm based in Brighton, and did White Mink. The first of the very large White Mink events. So I think we did it at the Brighton Festival in May 2010, and that was like 750 capacity, and that just sold out. And I was just like, oh, there's something really going on. And that was the first sort of standalone White Mink gig. And then I didn't want to do events again because I'd already done 11 years of events. Right. In London, I was like, I'm so sick of doing events. And it wasn't my plan to do that at all, but it was really obvious that there was something there. And you just take the road that opens up in front of you, really. Exactly.
Sometimes you don't have a choice; the paths kind of write themselves. Do you think Electro Swing Club played a part in shaping the culture that has accompanied electro swing, or do you think this was dictated by the music itself?
I think there were a lot of things which we did early on. Which were, it's the kind of, there's a confluence of like a time and technology and all sorts of things which come together. Mm-hmm. And it's very hard to say how much they actually influence each other or connect. But there were things like, the VJing was on the table from the off. We always had the vintage clips, and that has kind of stayed as part of the sort of brand, if you like, or the style of vintage remixes of electro swing. So that was there. The kind of dressing up aspect. We never enforced it, but it was always there, and it was very kind of quickly latched onto by some people. The sound obviously was kind of. It was very much more open in the beginning. It's interesting when no one knew what it was. There was no. definition whatsoever. So the definition was literally what we made, and it was very open. So it included kind of more jazzy, new jazz type things, and then of course Power of Stella and Caravan Palace, and quite quickly sort of new people came through as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. That leads up on well to what I was going to ask actually about Power of Stella and Caravan Palace, because obviously at the start, when you kind of first came to work with them, they were at the very start of their careers. What's it been like watching them kind of blow up over the past 15 years? Did you ever imagine like back then that they would be as big as they are now?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, the funny thing about Parov was he wasn't in the middle of his career at all. At the beginning, he was really quite a long way down. He had been doing new jazz releases for quite a while, and no one had kind of connected him with the word electro swing. Well, the word electro swing didn't exist. So yeah, he was quite a way down. Caravan Palace had done their first album, but to my ears, I thought it was the most interesting and exciting thing around at that moment. And it was, it's a bit like you hear something amazing and you go, how come this is not huge?
Yeah.
And you go, well, yeah, of course, there's just, took people a little while to discover it or something.
Exactly.
But I mean, actually, what I've found slightly frustrating is the lack of mainstream support, and particularly from the kind of mainstream dance community. That it is a relatively small world, but it's not by any means a small scene. It's in terms of listenership, it's pretty big, and there's just been zero support. I mean, Caravan Palace have done Jules Holland and a few bigger things later, but very little really mainstream recognition or support for.
Why do you think that is?
I think probably because it went under the radar initially, and then by the time people clocked it, it was so big that it was kind of it was almost no longer cool to like it because it wasn't unfelt even before it. It just kind of exploded too quickly, and then people were like, "Oh, I hate electro swing just because it's too big."
Yeah, it's kind of it's become cool to hate electro swing almost.
Well, no, I think it's almost gone past that. It's almost back to being cool again. The circle.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Oh, brilliant. We're cool again. Yay.
Ironic way. Yeah. Who knows? You can hardly keep up.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, you say about not kind of gaining much support from the big players, but I spotted, we're going back quite some time now in 2010. I think you got recognition from Mixmag.
Yeah, that's true.
They branded you as Electro Swing's first landmark moment. Obviously, this is such a big achievement because if you ask any clubber in the UK what Mixmag is, they're going to know straight away. What impact did this have on White Mink and Freshly Squeezed, if anything? I
think in kind of the feeling that we were onto something and we were moving down a good road. It also brought, I don't think it made a huge difference because that kind of thing is really nice to hear, and it was really nice to be noticed, I guess. And actually, it's quite good that you pointed that out because I had forgotten that, and that is definitely
there you go. Ride along on the coattails again.
Yeah. No, it was good. I think it was one journalist who particularly got it, and he was great. And there were actually a few other kind of supporters. Rob DeBank gave us a 2-hour show on Radio 1, which included like Maida Vale Studios and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's massive. Rob DeBank's a really big name. I remember seeing him playing in Joshua Brooks in Manchester many years ago. So yeah, that's good. So I'd like to talk now, obviously, about your actual record label. You've been running for 15 years, which is a great achievement. You've worked with loads of acts over the years, obviously Swing Growers, Jamie Berry, Wolfgang Lohr, Marcello Papini, the list goes on. This might be an impossible question to answer, but what has been your favourite release and why? Putting you on the spot.
I'd never ever answer that, Emma. That's a bit like saying which is your favourite child. Literally, they are all different, and there's things that you feel particularly emotionally connected to, but I never single anyone out.
No.
One of the things about the label is it's a very personal thing, and pretty much each and every release actually means something to me, and we put out stuff that I think is worthwhile. So
that's a great answer. That's great. It's one of those questions you have to ask it because everyone's curious, but as you say, everyone's different and everyone's got their own merits. So yeah, exactly. Kudos. Now, as well as working with established acts, Freshly Squeezed has kind of given opportunities to kind of a lot of up-and-comers as well. Recently, one of the names that kind of stands out is the Cut Capers. You must receive like a huge amount of demos into the Freshly Squeezed mailbox each week. So what makes a hit record? What when you get one and land in the inbox and you go, whoa, this is going to be massive?
Well, I mean, it's surprisingly actually not that difficult to... I mean, probably 90% of the stuff is just like, you think, has this person ever even actually listened to what we do, like a single release? So, the first thing is like, is it in any way relevant to what we do? And that's the vast minority of stuff. And then, from then it's really a question of, how distinctive is it from everything else that is out there? So, although we are kind of, inverted commas, maybe a slightly niche label, or we're known for doing electro swing, there's no point. I'm not looking for Harold Stellar. I'm not looking for Caravan Palace. Although if someone came along who was as good as that, I would be very happy to sign them. But, that isn't it's not about replicating the sound of somebody else. It's about what are you bringing to the table that's interesting or distinctive or is going to add a new angle or a twist. I think when you go back through the releases on the label with that in mind, you'll see that there's a thought process, which is how can we push the envelope of what the understanding of this is in some sort of way that's kind of going to open it up in new directions or to new audiences or new people. That's really...
Yeah, that's a good one. So I need to know what's the most random track you've had drop into the inbox if you're talking about styles that completely don't match your label.
Weirdly, I do get sent quite a lot of hip hop, like sort of American hip hop, and I think because of the name Freshly Squeezed, I think it sounds like a bit of a dope label.
Yeah, totally.
Squeezed.
Down with the homies.
Exactly. So I get quite a lot of that, which is cool, but it's just not what I do. So.
No, nice to listen to, but not what you want.
A fair amount. I mean, you can always tell in the first line. People say, "I've been influenced by," and then they just say a list of completely irrelevant stuff. Yeah, quite a lot of metal. Funnily enough, I don't know why.
Oh wow! I'd love to see metal and electro swing fused together. That would be crazy.
Oh, me too. There actually is a band that I've liked a lot whose name I shan't mention because I've still got my eye on them. I don't want too much competition out there, Emma.
Exactly. Yourself. You don't know who's listening.
Exactly. But they fuse kind of much more kind of punk rock with swing, and it's a very interesting. What I was saying earlier. Bringing something unique to the table. It's an interesting fusion.
That's cool. I look forward to hearing that one. Now, you're not just a record label boss. You're obviously a DJ. You've got your own radio show, and you've also, as you say, produced music. Again, this is a slightly open-ended question, so apologies. What's been your standout moment from your career?
Standout
if you
moment.
Could pick one.
Oh God, there's so many. I mean, really amazing moments, and I mean, probably some of the festivals. I think in some of the early electro swing things that we did at like Glastonbury were pretty amazing. I mean, they were big, like 10,000 people, which is a lot, and so there's a real buzz in that. And just when it was new and fresh, that was exciting. But all the gigs that I did with Harold Stellar and Caravan Palace were pretty amazing because they were basically word of mouth gigs. They sold out on word of mouth. Which is really cool, It's just like the buzz is out there, and it's almost tangible when it's there. And then the other one I was going to mention is has totally gone from my head, and I can. But there were loads. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. That's pretty cool. I'd love to go. I've never ever been to Glastonbury. It's still a bucket list. So yeah, that's
it's
cool.
Another world. It's the best. I mean, it is the mother. Boomtown is amazing, and I mean, there's a lot of amazing festivals. I think the thing about Glastonbury is, one, it's just so big. And if you've never been, it's inconceivable how large it is. And then, the amount of sort of subcultures that it's able to incorporate. So there's the big mainstream stuff that you see on the telly, which is absolutely the least interesting part of the whole experience. And then there's all this tiny, tiny, tiny stuff around the peripheries. There's all the most interesting, random, bizarre, and it's the random, crazy, beautiful experiences that you have that are just amazing there. So,
wow, yeah.
It's the mother of all festivals. So.
It really is. Oops, banging myself on the microphone there. Obviously, I just mentioned before that you were a label boss and a promoter and DJ producer. Would you describe yourself as a record label boss first, a producer second, or how would you want people to know you?
Human being.
Everyone's a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. They aren't really separate. I mean, they're all kind of parts of the same thing. I'm passionate about music, and I've always loved music myself, and I'm a big music fan and follower. And then that just leads me down the path of, I want to put stuff out. I want to share things that I've found. So DJing or doing gigs, I mean, is all sort of part of the same thing. So there isn't any one thing. I mean, I'm also a musician. There's loads of things that are not on my list, because otherwise it just sounds egocentric. But
oh wow, I didn't know that. What music do you play?
I am a saxophone player and a bass player and a producer and piano.
Amazing. Now, that was not on my list of questions, and I'm really glad we talked about it, because that's something that I didn't know about you. So
right, they are.
Excellent. That's really cool.
I've got. If you go and look, well, in fact, I had. So I did one of my own tracks on the first White Mink album, which is Nick Hollywood one, which is the only Nick Hollywood track. But before that, I did a thing called Lemon, which was sort of sampling, like a breakbeat kind of sampling thing. There's a couple of Lemon albums which you can check out. A lot of live trumpet and sax, my sax, and then as well. Before that, we was in lots of bands, and also did lots of sessions. I mean, there's lots of kind of Britpop tracks that I play on and stuff. So, yeah.
Amazing. And do you think that live music goes hand in hand with electro swing?
I mean, that's a really painful question to ask, Emma, right? Given what's going on with live music at the moment and in Clubland, I mean, all of us are just really, really concerned about what is going to happen with live music, what's going to happen to club culture. I feel really lucky to be in the position where the label is sort of established, and we're not dependent on kind of grassroots growth to build something. I mean, it's really, it's kind of it's a scary moment. So, it's an important part of it, a really important part of it. Yeah,
I agree. Fingers crossed things return to some sort of normality soon. Now, I'm probably going to embarrass you with this question. The Daily Telegraph, you probably know what I'm going to say when you see that. They described you as the godfather of electro swing, which is an impressive title to have. When you saw that written in the newspaper, how did it make you feel?
Do you know what? I mean, the thing about being a record label and being a record label boss is that your job is not to put yourself forward. Your job is to advocate and put forward all the acts and the artists that you represent. So it's not about me. So it's very nice to be mentioned in the article. And, there are times when I do push myself forward as a DJ or the promoter, because that's how you get seen. It's not my natural thing to do. I'm more kind of, quiet and introverted, if you want to kind of use a hashtag. It's nice, but it's it was actually, I was more excited about the fact that there was a 2-page center spread article in a broadsheet I'm completely wrong what I said at the beginning, aren't I, about lack of mainstream support? Because actually, that's another.
There is quite a lot when you go back through it.
I do actually have I've got a big book which has all the press cuttings, and there are actually quite a lot. So.
It's easy to lose sight, though, isn't it? So it's nice to kind of go back on a trip down memory lane. So
Yeah.
That was cool.
It felt good, but it felt good a bit more because it was supporting broadly what I was doing and people we were working with and that sort of thing than about me personally.
No, absolutely. That's a really good attitude to have, and obviously as an artist it is always nice to get recognition for the work you do. Now, talking of going down memory lane, you've been around the world playing music in some amazing places. And it's another one of these questions of what's your favourite? Where's the favourite place you played and why, if you can pick one?
Well, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I mean, I ended up doing quite a lot of gigs in Greece for some reason. And there's some very nice kind of beach bars, at night where it's really balmy and you've got the sea and so some of those gigs were really good. In fact, there was one that I remember where the DJ booth was right in the middle of the bar. So it's slightly raised and the bar was like a square. So they're serving all around you and you're right in the very center. And they just kept handing me drinks. That's wicked. That's
amazing.
Really, California, I love. I've done a lot of work in California and that's a lovely lovely part of the world. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of nice gigs. Barton Baker in Paris, amazing, memorable.
Wow.
Those guys are just, quite a few gigs in Paris, and they just looked after me so well when I was there. So yeah, lots of great gigs.
Amazing. Yeah, Barton Baker, we love you if you're listening. And what's been your favourite show? You probably can't pick one because you've done so many, but if there's any one that's kind of stood out.
What, for me, like a radio show?
No, sorry, like show as in, club night show performance.
Tell you one that we did very, very early on. We with the White Mink thing, we were working on kind of a more sort of immersive theatre speakeasy type event. So it was still about the music and the dancing basically, but there was also a sort of theatre element, and we had sort of plants in the audience who were actually actors. And we did this whole skit, which actually I didn't have much to do with, but it was sort of by the guys from the Invisible Circus in Bristol. And there was this whole storyline. This girl did this performance piece where she wanted to be a singer and wanted to get up on stage. He was talking to members of the audience about she had slept with the guy who was comparing it, and he let her get up on stage. And as the evening went on, she acted more and more drunk, getting completely pissed. So they were all kind of having conversations with her and witnessing this whole thing. And then at the very end, she storms up on stage while he's comparing. She grabs the microphone off him and she launches into this complete amazing burlesque tune, which just completely brings the house down. And then everyone kind of goes, oh my God, this is a complete setup. And it was just brilliant to see the whole thing work. And we had a couple of, we were like, it was a residency at the Edinburgh Festival. So it was, it had time to evolve. But that was amazing. That was really cool.
That sounds really cool. Do you think it's a kind of important part of the kind of the electro swing experience, the kind of like the theatre aspect and the kind of immersive thing? Do you think that's what makes kind of some events stand out from others?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, it can also be why some people don't like it, or some people can be put off by that element. I mean, I think generally when people come and they're there and they see it, they get swept up in the moment and it's pretty amazing and intoxicating when you are there. So, I mean, it's it is part and parcel of it, and it's probably for a reason. So, yeah,
absolutely. And we've talked about your kind of favourite gigs and the kind of places that you've been. Is there anywhere that you haven't played that you'd really like to play?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, probably somewhere exotic like Hawaii.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, the Caribbean. Yeah, I mean, just simply to get the flights. I've never been invited to play Australia. That would be an interesting one.
Yeah, that would be a good one, definitely. So somewhere hot and sunny.
Yeah. Or alternatively, actually, any skiing gigs. Anyone wants to pay for me to go skiing, I will happily DJ to pay my way.
That would be good. Are you a skier?
Yeah, love skiing.
Oh, amazing. I don't ski. I've been snowboarding a couple of times badly, but now I just want to talk about the possible kind of like negative side of the music industry. It's not uncommon for people to kind of like crash and burn in the industry. Obviously, you've been working with music for such a long time. Do you have anything in place to kind of like look after your mental and physical health, like your well-being?
100%. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you learn resilience and you learn methods. I mean, I'm very careful to keep myself, separate from my kind of business entity. So although I'm kind of, honest up to an extent, my personal Facebook page is it's not even my name, it's my pseudonym. I'm not on social media, because I think that, you need some sort of separation from it. It's really, it is my life. It is all the stuff that I do, but at the same time, you just don't want to get eaten up by it. And like you say, it's very easy to kind of burn out or, get concerned about the wrong things. I mean, I think more so now than ever, actually. I think the sort of, people get crazily obsessed by the stats and the numbers and, have I got more views than somebody else? And it's like, that's so missing the point. It's like, really, did you get into music to have more views than somebody? It's just like, surely not. But it's very difficult. It's very difficult not to go down that road. So yeah, I have lots of techniques. Yeah,
that's a really good advice, not just for people in the music industry, but it just in general. Social media is got a lot to answer for in a way. If you could take it away and you could have a world without social media, would you go for it? If we could just push a button and say bye-bye?
It depends from which point of view. I mean, from a personal point of view, absolutely 100%. I don't think it's great for anybody's mental health. I don't think it's great for the values that we have and share as a society. I think it's kind of tends to encourage not the best aspects of humanity. And it's very easy to be manipulated by kind of social media. I mean, I think we're all kind of just growing up with it and finding our feet. But yeah, I mean, personally, if I could push a button, yes. From a business point of view, if I could push a button, no, absolutely not. It's been amazing for us. And,
absolutely. So, I think social media has been kind of crucial during the coronavirus pandemic. I hate to mention the dreaded C word, but how has the coronavirus kind of affected you? Not you personally, I mean like your Fresh and Squeezed, your music, and how have you kind of adapted?
I think I mean we're kind of, it's a good thing about being a small company. We're relatively light on our feet. I have moved office, which is definitely partly connected to that, and it's been very hard to kind of keep the team focused and on the same page without actually meeting up. That's been really difficult, and I think some people have dealt with issues of kind of anxiety and depression and stuff. Being locked down and kind of it's been a very weird kind of time. So there's been bits of those sorts of things. Was it coronavirus? Yeah, I mean but basically, I'm really lucky. I mean, I feel, in a way, I feel kind of guilty because I'm so, the world of actual music streaming and YouTube and the stuff that we make money from continues to in much the same way. So as a company, we're relatively insulated. But you know, at the same time, I relate so strongly, having spent so long doing live events. You know, I relate very strongly to live event companies, and you know, I know how absolutely awful it's been, and you know, probably worse is to come as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Did you think it's going to have a lasting impact on the music industry?
I think it will. Yeah, I think a lot of things are going to be go bust. I mean, you know, it may. That's not to say that it will necessarily be all negative, because I think a lot of new things will pop up that we can't quite see and predict yet. So you know, there will be some kind of positive outcomes. You know, maybe a shake-up is good in some ways.
Exactly.
But, you know,
yeah, I tend to agree.
Pretty awful if you owned a nightclub or a bar that you know puts on bad DJs. It's like, not
exactly. I mean, I think one positive has been our producers are kind of sat at home with loads of time on their hands, so there's kind of like been loads more music that's been written. I think 2020 has been quite a good year for electro swing. Can I ask you? I don't you put you on the spot. Who was your one to watch for 2020?
It doesn't put me on the spot at all. Riff Kitten for me. His album is coming out this weekend, and his album's coming out in October. Again, you know, he brings a slightly fresh spin to electro swing. So you know, what I'm liking about him is the whole, you know, Tim Burton. It's almost like it's the dark electro swing kind of vibe, but dark as in tongue in cheek rather than seriously goth. And yeah, his album's really strong, and his next single is, I think, particularly strong.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So for people that are listening and you haven't checked him out, go check out Riff Kitten. Also signed to Freshly Squeezed Music, I believe. Okay, cool. And just on the kind of staying on the subject of kind of music production, for any kind of aspiring producers that are listening to the show, what advice could you give them?
I think probably three things. One, find your own sound. Don't try and be like anyone else. Try and find your own style. Try and find what you can bring to the party that no one else does. Two, don't rush. It's a long game. You really need to kind of be consistent, keep putting out stuff. Don't expect the first thing to be really good. And also, I would probably say, don't put out the first thing that you do. Probably you'll improve so much in the first 6 months. You'll go, I really hate that. I'm really embarrassed by it. And so many people do that, and they just kind of rush something out. And then they improve, and then they really regret it, or something changes. So don't do that. And three, just integrity. Be yourself, and don't worry about the numbers or what anyone else is doing. Just kind of do your own thing, enjoy it, and be sincere and honest. And that way, if you have success, it's a super bonus. And if you don't, you had a good time anyway. So. That would be my advice.
That's really solid advice. I think it is hard for people. They get excited and they want to put stuff out, and it's like, oh, this is really exciting, but I just say just kind of take your time. And again, what you say about social media, it is super hard not to kind of look at what other people are doing. It's just the nature of human beings. But yeah, that's really good advice. Now, we've talked about other people, but I'd like to ask about you. What does the future hold for Nick Hollywood and Freshly Squeezed Music? What can we expect over the coming months and years?
Oh, we've got so much good stuff lined up. So much good stuff. I'm really excited. Always really excited.
I can tell your voice lit up when you were thinking about it.
It's always good. You're always kind of looking a couple of steps ahead. And so it's 15 years this year. We've had a really busy year, and it's been a very odd year. So our 15-year celebrations are having to do a compilation, and there's a book, and we're also doing a sort of series of videos and podcasts and stuff. But all of that has kind of got a little bit knocked sideways by the other stuff that's going on. So, hopefully, if there's time, we will kind of do some of that stuff. I've got we've got a really strong October coming up. So we've got the Riff Kitten album, we've got Swing Ninjas album, we've got Atom Smith album, which has been coming for a long time. We've also got a new single from Swing Growers.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, which is the new album from the Swing Growers coming, which is amazing. They've, it's fourth album in, and hand on heart, this is their masterpiece. This is I didn't think they could, to be honest, I didn't think they would be able to top Outside In. I thought that's it really now.
Yeah.
And they'll just kind of be level on a level plane, but actually they've just done it. It's an amazing record, really amazing. So that's exciting. We've got Little Violet also working on her album for next year. We've got more from Odd Chap, who really great producer. So yeah, just there's tons in the pipeline. So
amazing. That sounds exciting. And I have to ask, this wasn't on the list questions, but any vinyl releases that are on the plan?
Swing Growers will definitely be on vinyl. I am kind of thinking about it actually. I sort of struggle with physical product because CD. I've seen the rise of CD from the beginning and now through to the end, and it was such a hate relationship, pretty much the whole of that period. But it's just so ecologically, it's so fucking wasteful. The amount of plastic and packaging and stuff, I never liked that element of CD. So, and vinyl is, although I absolutely love vinyl and I'm passionate about it, it is also a big lump of plastic, and it does kind of contribute to waste and landfill and a bit sort of necessary. So I'm slightly on edge with kind of making more, really.
That's a good answer. And I have to ask you, the electro swing scene, what do you think the future holds? Do you think how it's going to change? Is it going to evolve? Do you think it's going to grow? Do you think it's going to shrink? What do you think is going to happen? I think all bets are off the table with COVID-19. Sorry, but it's just going to be, it's going to impact everything. It's going to be very interesting to see how integral the club scene is to the music, because a lot of it is dance based. And I think without a kind of a club context and without people going out, that's probably going to change the listening habits. I think people are always going to want to wave their arms about in the air and have a good time. Escapism is super important, but at the moment that's not even an option. No.
so I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to go.
Do you? From a personal point of view, I think electro swing is one of those genres that is quite accessible. Although it is club music, not all of it to me is dance floor music. So do you think that could possibly go in its favour? If you think about Radio 2, you get kind of Caro Emerald and things being played on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think. There's always things that transcend that. Little Violet, for example, is much more song based. Electro swing, or even Riff Kitten is much more kind of down tempo, and I think that makes what he does better or more interesting. But it's some of the more sort of, not really my own releases, but some of the other releases that I'm aware of in the scene are often sort of focused at a kind of a dance floor club level.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, those records sort of make much less sense given what else is going on. So,
it's
we'll see.
It's really interesting, the whole kind of the coronavirus thing. It's really going to see how kind of dance music, how it's going to evolve, I say, because it's not all about kind of going out at the moment.
No.
But we shall see. So we have a couple of questions for you from some of the electro swing community. The first one is quite a tough question actually for a fan question. It's come from Kat, She says, I'm so curious about the copyright platform mainstream promotion of the genre as a whole. She's referring to electro swing and how it's affecting reaching wider audiences. There you go. It's quite a mouthful there for you.
Copyright. So is she? She's wondering about kind of bootlegs and bootleg remixes. I
think
guess.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that. I mean, that's constantly changing and is a constant area of confusion. And, I find myself unwittingly becoming like the expert and giving so many people advice on what is legal. It does impact. I mean, the American copyright laws have changed. So the Music Modernization Act, which was kind of passed by Trump end of last year and is enacted at the beginning of this year. That's basically meant that all public domain music is off the table in the States.
Oh, wow.
Usually it happened like a year after the rest of Europe caught up with the American copyright laws, and they're super strict in America about that sort of thing. So, that's going to have a pretty big impact. There is still, and there always has been, a big underground scene. But, platforms like SoundCloud are clamping down, Facebook is clamping down. As those internet service providers become more regulated, so they kind of enforce existing laws. I think that there's enough people making stuff. People like Atom, to refer back to my own catalogue. I mean, Atom Smith is working with a Hollywood big band arranger. So he's doing what they would have done back in the day. They're scoring out brass parts, with harmonies and just recording it in a modern way, and then he's kind of sampling it and looping it in that way. So, there's lots of ways to take the influence without necessarily taking the original tunes. But I think, something like, Piss, for example, where he samples Minnie the Moocher, when we did that, when we released that was a legal record. That is now no longer a legal record in the States. So it's not, if we were to release that now, I would expect to have lawyers breathing down my neck. It's already out, it's done. So it's legit now. But if we put it out tomorrow, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's tough. I know Kat is from the States, so I think that will have been what she was referring to. So yeah. Right. Well, a slightly easier, light-hearted question for you from Chris. He'd like to know, what are your hobbies? What do you do when you're not musicking? And also, how important is it to have a separation between work, play, and life balance?
Good question. Yeah, when I'm not musicking, I sleep. It is like, it's my life. I play music to relax. I listen to music. When I cook, I listen to music. But I am, I've learnt very strongly. I mean, originally I worked from home, so my office was at home, and people would always say to me, "How is it that you get any work done at all?" And it's like that's never been the problem. The problem was, how do you ever switch off at all and stop working? And that's what you learn to do. You learn to do right. Now I'm going to switch off the computer. I'm not going to do any more emails. And you do gradually get better at that. And just having proper sort of separation. But music is part of my life. So, to relax, I play piano and, write music and do stuff like that. But not, it's very important that to separate out ambition and, the business side of it and the fun side, and try and maintain the fun side and not let it become business or ambitious. So,
absolutely. Great question there, Chris. Thank you very much. So we are coming towards the end of the interview. What we always do, finish off with a nice little easy quick fire round, simple answers. So, one of the questions, though, I don't think you're going to answer, from what's transpired over the interview, but we'll give it a go. Whiskey or gin?
Whiskey.
Straight in there, love that. Swing or jazz?
Ooh, jazz.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that one. Maybe I should have done. This is the elephant in the room. Power of Stella or Caravan Palace?
That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I wouldn't answer that question. No.
No. Yeah, that's fair enough. I thought it was a bit of a mean one. And the final thing I'd like to know is, what 3 things do you always take to a gig with you?
Oh, yeah, no, I heard you ask Jamie that one as well.
Yeah.
This is a sandwich question. But the sandwich is a great answer. The only thing I could think of that actually I consistently take, especially festival gigs, is I take really strong sleeping pills so I actually can get a night's sleep.
Love it.
Yeah, it's really essential. So yeah, my prime drugs if I go to a festival is just having sleeping pills. Yeah, otherwise you got so much adrenaline, you're so wired, there's people being noisy, you just, by day 3 you're just a zombie. So yeah, it's actually really good to get a decent night's sleep. So yeah, that's my top tip. Yeah, the other 2 would probably be sandwiches as well.
Oh, I need to know what's on Nick Hollywood's sandwich. What's your sandwich of choice? See if you've got a rival for Jamie Berry.
Do you know what? I think traditional. I think I'd go tuna mayo, actually.
Ooh, tuna mayo, old school, love it. This is going to be a new feature now. I want to know what all the electro swing DJ and producers, what's on their sandwiches. They'll make it easy when I book them for Prohibition as well. We'll get a nice rider for you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
Tuna mayo sandwiches. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was Jamie's sandwich?
Sorry?
What was Jamie's top sandwich?
Oh gosh. Now you're asking. I think it was a BLT.
Ah, good choice.
And if he's pushing the boat out, he'll go to Waitrose or M&S.
My daughter was doing a crossword the other day, and the clue was the Queen's favourite sandwich filling. I was like, I'm totally stumped by that. We've been thinking about it for the last couple of days. What is the Queen's favourite sandwich filling? I was thinking something like coronation chicken or something, but that didn't fit. It's just like, that's really weird. There's something.
Did you find out the answer?
No.
Right, we've got an answer. We've got a question for you listeners. What is the Queen's favourite sandwich filling? Answers below in the social media comments. If you know, we'll send you a prize. We'd like to know.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Excellent. It's been lovely speaking to you, Nick. We have come to the end of the interview. It's been great to kind of find out more about everything that kind of makes you freshly squeezed. I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Very much, Emma. Nice to talk to you. I'd like to have a chat with you about your label and what you're doing, turn the tables and actually just find out. But maybe we'll do that another time when you're more up and running. Or
exactly. Prohibition. I mean, this interview wasn't about me, but I will just quickly say something. The Prohibition record label is very much in the infancy. Obviously, we've just had the release that's come out from myself and Professor Elemental, Madam Misfit. And if we can get anywhere near to what you guys have done with Freshly, then it would be a great achievement. So got a lot of respect for what you guys do.
Good luck with that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll drop links to all of your social media for people so they can follow you in the YouTube comments. So thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much. Anyone who's made it this far as well, thank you for listening, bearing with us. Well done.
I'm sure they will have done it. I found it interesting anyway. If everyone else does, it's a
special prize for some. There should be some secret question at the end here that if you can answer it, the Queen's favourite sandwich we'll probably do. If anyone gets that far, then we know that they made it to the end.
Yeah.
#Prohibition MCR.
What a great interview. Thank you, Nick Hollywood, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak to me and the Prohibition radio show. I had lots of fun with that one, especially towards the end where we talk about the slightly random topic of what the Queen has on her sandwiches. If you do know the answer to that one, please get in touch. We'd love to know. That's all from me. I should be back with you next month with an exclusive female takeover on the radio show, which actually links into an exciting project that Prohibition are launching in the first week of October. If you'd like to find out about that, make sure you subscribe to us on Instagram and also Facebook /Prohibition MCR. I'm Emma Clair and I should be back with you next month.
Hey, buddy, do you like to swing? Come with me. You're listening to Emma Clair, the best of all things swinging on Prohibition Radio.